All right, if I can get everybody's attention, please. First off, thank you all for coming out tonight. I know plenty of you. I don't know all of you, but for those that I don't know, my name is Nelson Gord. I'm simply a coach. I coached my son's, what are we, 11U Black Bearcat team. In addition to that, I played here long ago. So graduated class of '99, went on, played at UIC, played a little bit professionally, was the head coach at Notre Dame, where Coach D'Amato, who's going to speak here in a little bit, he played prior to me getting there, was the head coach at Harper. So I've spent a lot of time in the game. And one thing that I've always been passionate about, more so than anything else, is really the player development side. Okay, and especially when it comes to little guys and girls. Okay, because your guys' job as coaches isn't to make them big leaguers. It's not to make them all-state players. It's simply to get them to come back next year, right? Whether it's a Bearcat team or a T-ball team, like your number one job is you want them to play again next year because they loved it. They want to play with their friends. They had a great experience with coaching. They had a passion for it. Okay, and that's so vitally important. And a big piece of that too is understanding, and learning about ways that we can make that even better. So we're fortunate enough to be in a community that has like incredible support. The fact that these 5 guys over here took time away from their families, from their day jobs, which is being in the classroom, to spend this Thursday night with us and asking nothing in return other than they want to share their wisdom, their knowledge, their information with you guys is truly incredible. Okay, so I know in every email that I've sent out, I've went overboard in thanking them, but I don't know if I could do it, quite enough, because coaching in itself is a thankless job. You guys we're all volunteers when it comes to coaching the little guys, but even at the high school level, when you take into account the number of hours they spend 365 days a year and look at what that stipend is or whatever else, it's nominal. They're truly doing it because they love being around the kids. And one day, your sons and daughters are going to be hopefully playing for these guys up here. So that's what I got. We're going to kick it off with Mr. Terry Beyna, head coach at St. Viator.
Move my slides. Yeah. Everybody, my name's Terry Beyna. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a product of District 214. Went to Rolling Meadows High School, went to Illinois State University. After my junior year at Illinois State, I was fortunate to get drafted. I spent 3.5 seasons in the Astros farm system, and then I kicked around for 4 more years in independent baseball. My last being I was on the very first Schaumburg Flyers team when they were called the Flyers. What? Excuse me? I said Todd. Oh yeah, I know Todd. Yeah. Got done playing, and while I was still playing, it was a really smart move of me. I just kept going back to school in the off season. So then when I was done playing, I went right into education, and next thing I know, I'm interviewing for a head baseball job, and then the baseball job led to a teaching job at Elk Grove High School. I spent 25 years at Elk Grove High School in many roles, mainly as their baseball coach. Spent some time in the athletic office as boys AD, girls AD, assistant AD, physical education teacher. I'm currently teaching at Rolling Meadows High School, and shockingly, I'm a head baseball coach at a private school. My son, Tanner, is up here with me. Tanner's a junior at St. Viator High School, and he's going to kind of help me demonstrate. So one thing I will say, I don't know Chris. Chris, you're new. I just met you. But I do know Jason, and I know Bill and Kevin very well. So those 3 guys right there, whether your kids are going to Wheeling or Buffalo Grove High School, they are going to be extremely well coached. And I have a ton of respect for what those guys do at their schools. They're very, very good baseball coaches. And I wouldn't say that if they weren't. And I'm sure Chris is going to do a great job at Stevenson. So this community is in very good hands in terms of the high schools that you'll pass kids along to. Yeah. So Bill and Kevin played for me a long time ago. So, uh, a couple pictures of me. Uh, in pro baseball, they say there's prospects and then there's people that fill out rosters that have to play with the prospects. I was probably that guy, but I worked extremely hard, and hitting was a massive passion of mine. I think across 7 seasons, I was a lifetime 292 hitter, little bit of power, prided myself on being able to put the bat on the ball, and my walks and strikeouts were always the same. But I really, really had to work, and I really had to study hitting. So hitting is one of my greatest passions. And to this day, I will still say there's moments I'm working with a hitter and I'll feel really, really good about myself. And man, I can really help this kid. And then I'll work with my own daughter and I'll say, man, I'm a terrible hitting coach. So you just don't, it's okay not to have all the answers, and it's okay to tell a player that I don't know, let me find out. Or it's just a constant process of, there's days where there's 2 steps ahead and then there's a step back, and you just got to stay after it. You can click it, Bill. Hitting setup. So I know the setup, I'm talking to a wide range of coaches from travel to maybe some T-ballers. But the setup, some of the basics, stance, if you watch major league hitters, you're going to see all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's not like, it does have to be, personal and what works for the hitter. But if I was to teach a hitter from the very start, there are certain things that I would do. Number one, in terms of how get set up in the box, I've taught Tanner, you take your back foot and you just take it to that second point of the plate, and you're going to be about a shoe size away from the plate. Other times you'll see hitters, they take the bat and they just want to make sure that they can touch the outside corner. To me, an average place, it should feel like I'm a little bit too close to the plate so that I have plate coverage. In terms of alignment with feet, I'm a simple guy. Like if I'm teaching somebody brand new, it's going to be my feet are in a line with the plate, with the pitcher, and I'm going to stay on that line as much as I can. I was fortunate to hear Don Mattingly speak at our national conference, and he was really big on just alignment in terms of spacing. When you get hitters that are really, really far off the plate, there's a tendency that when they stride, they're going to want to come into the plate. And then you get all this kind of crisscross action going on. A player that's way too far on the plate, they're going to try and create space to get their swing off. So I think proper distance away from the plate and alignment is very important, especially if you're teaching a young hitter. Now, if you have somebody a little bit more advanced and they're open, so their front foot is open, like more of a toe to heel, and they're striding and they're getting back to somewhat even, okay, I would say let them do it. Somebody that's really closed, they're going to have to create some space by getting back to even. But those extremes, they'll often go over the line to the other extreme. And to me, that just creates more issues. PCA, pretty simple. If you look at, his alignment, very athletic, knees are inside his feet, pretty centered. And then the bat position, there's a lot of great major league hitters and Hall of Fame hitters that would just start with the bat right on their shoulder. I would say that is a good starting point. If the kid just lifts it a little bit off the shoulder, that's a pretty good starting place. Of course, in the major leagues, you'll see hands all over the place, but all the great hitters, when they do land their stride, they all get to the same spot. So the farther away you start from that spot, now you're creating all kinds of timing and bigger movements to get to that position. So whether it's just flat on the shoulder or just a little bit up off the shoulder, that's where I would recommend that they start. you could have the hitter just kind of jump up and down and have them land and say, land athletically, put the bat on your shoulder and raise your hands a little bit. And that's going to be a pretty basic starting point. Grip. I do believe in grip. I believe the bat is held out in your fingers, different ways. You line up your knocking knuckles, the knuckles that you would use to knock on a door. To me, that gives my hands the most feel of the end of the bat in terms of bat control. A hitter that starts getting, really boxy with their grip, and you'll see guys that have a strong grip like that. Ohtani has a strong grip. But if I was to teach a brand new hitter, it's going to be line up your knocking knuckles and then the old point your pointer fingers, and they both should be pointing in the same direction. But very similar to way you would hold a putter in golf or a golf club. That's how I would start in terms of with a hitter. Size bat, it's all about their ability to control the bat, the length and the weight. If you see a kid that can't control the bat and it's just the bat looks slow and the barrel's just dropping, I don't think you can go wrong with a smaller bat and they're quick. And then you could, if you see a kid's really handling the bat well, go up a size. And if you see no changes, then okay, then that person's ready for the next size grip or a bat. I'd say about every year Tanner was going up an inch in bat size, and the cost is a whole nother thing. Batting gloves, a lot of the batting glove companies will actually put a line on the knocking knuckles. So if you are buying batting gloves for your son or daughter, or you have kids on your team that have batting gloves that you notice, there's a certain graphic that lines up the grip. People don't realize that that's there. My very first year in pro baseball, 21 years old, the Houston Astros just took a black Sharpie marker and put a line right down my batting glove. Here I am making that change in my grip, and I didn't know till I was 20 that, that grip would help me. So as a high school coach, this is probably 15 years ago. I'm like, I know hitting, but I need a teachable plan to be able to give to young hitters. And I heard John Malley speak at a conference, and I'm like, this is it. And John was current at that time. I believe he was working with the Cubs. He was the Cubs hitting coach in 2016 when they won the World Series. Cubs lost him to Houston, and he's now back as the assistant hitting coach. So I do need to give him credit. And I think that's what we do in this game is, we don't reinvent things. We just steal them from really good people. So a lot of this stuff is his. And what I found was it's 6 steps, 6 essentials of swing. And it's sequential. They all need to happen in order. It gave me the ability to be walking down the hall during school and pull a kid on the side and say, what are the 6 essentials of swing? And I was doing it when kids didn't know, that they were going to be asked the question. So we had a plan. Now, over time, what I've found as a high school coach, now everybody's got their own hitting coaches and things like that. And if I teach a certain plan, I get criticized that that's not what my pro hitting guy is teaching. But if I don't teach anything, I'm also going to be criticized because when they say, hey, what are they teaching you over there? They say, they're not teaching us anything. This was great for my ability to teach hitters. So the first, why don't you turn to the side here, Tanner? Do you care if we take that? No, I don't mind at all. The first essential is lower half load. And the greatest thing about this plan is it allows for style. So I'm not like cookie cutting everybody and tell them you have to do this. So the basic principle is you have to go back before you go forward. Now, when you go back, it is not a sway back. It's not like a shift back. It really is a move where you're getting into the back hip. So it's more of a move around the back hip. I have to have some sort of move back before I go forward. Most young hitters don't do this. They're stuck in stance and they're waiting to see the ball, and then they're just reacting and they're jumping forward. Hitters that don't go back before they go forward will struggle with timing. So they jump at the ball, okay? So if Tanner was going to be a high leg lifter, he would lift his leg, and you would see, like in this picture up here of Buster Posey, his hip is still inside his back knee. So very important that you don't get sway. So you don't want to sway back and then sway forward, because that's going to kill your hand speed. But somehow you want to get into that back hip. So you have a high leg lift is one way. You have a toe tap. So Sammy Sosa, when he was having all his success, he would take his front foot, he would tap back. That was his way of getting into the back hip. Somebody may be a knee tuck, and all you're going to do is just kind of tuck that front knee. And then lastly, somebody may not even stride, and Tanner will do this sometimes. He just lifts his front heel to get into that back hip. So there has to be some sort of move back before you go forward. And it's with the lower half. So it's lower half load. It's not with the upper body where we are drastically turning the upper half. The upper half, you want to keep that as square as you can. Maybe it gets a little bit closed, but you do not want to show your back to the pitcher. Okay? So that's number one, lower half load. Number two, stride separation.
On the first one, what do you want to teach the kids to feel the pressure? So as you're moving back,
you know, like a cue I might say is, just kind of show your back pocket to the pitcher. That might be something just real simple. Just lift your front leg and just show your back pocket to the pitcher. And some of that may be a balance issue. If it's a balance issue, I'm definitely not doing high leg lift. But I would often do high leg lift with a hitter who I felt like has no move back. Because some kids will say, well, I think I have something going back. And I'll say, just try this. Try more of a drastic leg lift, like you're a pitcher throwing a ball. But the thing is, whatever you do here, they should be interchangeable. So I think with new kids or young kids, and you're just trying to develop them and help them find their ways, play around with these different kinds of loads, different ways to kind of get into that back hip. Okay? But you got to get something going back before you go forward with your lower half. Next, so if you were in a high leg lift position and he got in his back hip, so one other point on the leg lift, for me, the hands don't move on lower half load. So if PCA has his hands right here on his back shoulder, the cue of I can feel the bat right here on my back shoulder. So when I leg lift, another word I might use with little kids is crunch. I want to feel my body kind of crunch. And then this part is the stretch. On the stretch is then when the hands are going to become a little bit, like off the shoulder. So stride separation, you're walking away from your hands. You're creating stretch and power. So if there was a rubber band around Tanner's front foot and around his hands or a bat area, on leg lift, there's slack, okay? On stride separation, so when he stride separates, his lower half is moving forward and his top half is saying, I'm not going along for the ride. So he's creating this stretch. And the rubber band just lengthens. Okay, so that's stride separation. If you look at, some of these are older hitters. This is kind of an old thing online. But if you look at all these hitters from Willie Mays to Mike Piazza, Mickey Mantle, and you could put any good hitter in today, you see that they all pretty much get to the same spot. They all may have very different stances. They may all have very different the ways they load. But once they finish stride separation, they all look pretty much the same. Okay, so it's a feeling of just my lower half starts to make a move, and my hands say, top half says I'm not going with. For you coaches that are coaching little kids, you may work all year on stance, grip, lower half load, and just get them to, if you get them to this position and just let them hit from there, you've done a heck of a job. So if you can get them there, the body will find a way to swing from the position that you put it in. Third essential, and I tell the guys, if you do stride separation correctly, it should put you in a 50-50 position. And 50-50 position, you can see the triangle between the legs. The head is directly over that. And then the knob of the bat, like if there was a laser pointing out the end of the bat, the end of the bat should be pointing towards the catcher's feet. So 50-50 to me, I'm big on telling guys, you got to get get all your spikes in the ground. And it feels like they're moving a little bit. They're making a move to the ball. Hitters that are told stay back, stay back, stay back, stay back. And I was told that as a young hitter. Had a chance at Illinois State. I had a chance to, my roommate, my freshman year was Casey Fisk, Carlton's son. And he told me, these are his words. He said, one of the worst things you can tell a hitter is to stay back. Because if they stay back, again, what I just said, the body will find a way to swing the bat based on the position you put it in. If I have all my weight back, he called it kickstand. So if I was like riding a bike, there's my kickstand. I'm gonna just swing the bat from back there. So getting to this 50-50 position, front heel is down. I'm 50-50 in terms of weight, and the knob of the bat's pointing towards the catcher's feet is a very classic hitting position to be in. To me, if you do stride separation correctly and you have a little bit of weight transfer, when we go to throw a baseball, we don't just throw it from the back leg. There has to be some transfer to the front. I think hitting and pitching are very similar. Okay. Number 4, the swing happens from the ground up. So Tanner, why don't you get in here? So just kind of stride separate. So you're putting force into the ground. So his front heel is down, and the swing happens from the ground up. So it's ankle, knee, hip. The hip is going to then sync up with the back elbow, but it's like a wave of energy coming from the ground up. Young hitters that I talked about that jump, they don't stride separate. They don't load. They don't stride separate. They just stay in stance. They jump at the ball, and their swing is from the top down. Hitters that go through this sequence, they get into the ground, and their lower half is turning, their top half is resisting, and you see all these wrinkles going on. And that's where the power of a hitter is going. So you can see like the belt buckle is starting to turn, and his top half, he's still maintaining that nod to the catcher position. So the ground, it happens from the ground up. Back one more. 2 drills that I would have them do. So like if I preset his lower half, kind of the way he would finish, and then I just told him to pull his hands back, and then let him swing off a tee from there, he'll get the feeling of I'm releasing the bat. So my torque is all built up, and it's just a releasing of the energy rather than like an over the top, like kind of a chop. Okay. And whether the swing's coming from the ground up or the top down, it's going to totally affect the path of the barrel. Okay, you can flip it. Number 5, you just direct to the ball. I think hitting is a combination of rotational power, but there's also a linear action to that. The longer I can keep this bat in the strike zone on the same plane of the pitch is coming from that direction. If I can keep my bat on that direction, my margin for error is greater. And hitting's very, very hard. You know, if I'm all rotational and my barrel's in the zone and quickly out of the zone, my timing has to be absolutely perfect. And then the shape of my swing is going to affect the shape of the ball coming off of it. So in terms of like being direct, you want to be, let's turn you around this way. You want to be super compact with his hands. So go ahead and stride separate, start your turn. Like his hands will stay very close to his body, and he's attacking from the inside out. So an outside in would be he just casts his hands out and it becomes this big rotational loop. So he's going to keep his hands nice and tight on his body. The barrel is going to lag behind, and the position you want to get to is square contact. So what I would do with young kids, so square contact, I have a 90-degree angle there. So if I said, hey, don't let me push the bat, they'll feel that they have leverage behind the bat. If you put a kid in this position and think that, well, this is how you make contact with the ball, and then you say, okay, don't let me move the bat, they have no leverage there. Good drills for that, like if one of those old punching bags, like kick bag things, you can get them for $40 on Facebook Marketplace. And you just tell the kid, I just wanted you to take the bat. You could try to say, hey, go through load and stride separate and just hit that bag or old tires. I guarantee you he is going to hit that bag with a 90-degree angle, and he will have leverage behind. His body knows that that's how he's got to hit the tire or the back. You could do half swings, so you could set up a tee and just say, I want you to swing and stop at contact, and you're going to see that 90-degree square contact. To stay close, like to keep the hands in, you know, the old drill where Tanner, he'd put his bat on his elbow, and let's say the net is here, and then he goes back, and so I'm the net, and he has to swing the bat without hitting the net. But I would also tell them, keep the bat going along the net as long as you can. That was a drill that, you know, I did as a high schooler, but that was a drill, like even in pro ball, like if I had a certain number of minutes to get ready for a game and there wasn't a batting cage, that was like part of my daily routine, just swinging up against the net to make sure that I was compact and I was staying as long through the ball as I could. Not an essential, but contact points. This is a mat that we have a couple of these at St. Viator, Barry Bonds, you know, just in terms of understanding contact points. So if I'm a right-handed hitter here, work different contact points with your hitter. So right-handed hitter, the farther the ball is away from me, the deeper it's going to be on the plate. Now, these contact points are relative to where a hitter stands in the box, but I would say if I was working on hitting the ball up the middle, I'm going to find out where my stride foot lands, and I'm going to put that tee even with my stride foot. If I wanted to work oppo, I'm still working that same direction, but I'm going to set the tee just inside my heel. The closer the ball gets to me, I'm just going to move the tee further up in front. So understanding tee placement and one of the the greatest hitters can hit the ball wherever it's pitched, and the ball dictates where the ball should go. So I tell hitters, you are a prisoner to the pitch. So if the pitch is away, the ball should be hit away. If the ball's middle, it should be hit through the middle of the field. If the ball's in, I'm trying to attack the inside half of it, and maybe I can get the bat out in front. But understanding contact points, you can make something like this. Sometimes you can even just lay down baseballs, but if you're working tee work, just make sure they're placing the tee in the right place. These throw down plates are really good for hitting and pitching, just the colors, or you can paint some plates. You could even put some ball position, spots on there. But just the concept, and I think you can see with Bonds that pitch looks middle, and it's probably pretty close to his front foot. Last one is just dynamic balance. Can you swing the bat, and can you hold your finish? And that's something that I would definitely do with kids. Take a swing and freeze. Finish your swing and freeze. And their movements of what they're doing, if they're very rotational, you're going to see that they can't swing the bat and just maintain balance. I think balance creates a repeatable swing. So the 6, lower half load.
Separation.
Stride separation. He didn't know I was going to do this. If I do stride separation correctly, I will get to
50-50.
the swing starts
Lower half.
from the ground up. I want my swing to be,
Upper half follow.
I want to be direct, inside, and then demonstrate dynamic balance. So that, to me, that gives me I now have a plan at how I can teach hitting. John Malley has some videos online. So you can Google them. You can show the video. I show the video to the guys. It's a little bit dated. I ran into him not too long ago, and I said, what would you change? And he just, some of the launch angle stuff has changed things a little bit, but there wasn't a whole lot. How are you going to teach this? So hitting is very, very hard. So these progressions are very important. And the old belief that, well, this is the velocity that you're going to see in the game, and I'm going to, as an adult, throw pitches as hard as I can at a 7-year-old because they got to toughen up, and this is how they're going to get better. That's not the way to do it. So this is the progression you use. You start with swings and just focusing on maybe a couple of the essentials and holding body positions. That's where I would start. Then you go to the tee and maybe some contact points, and then toss. Underhand toss, whether if you're lucky, you'll be able to do it from behind a screen. I like to do it standing, not seated, because I like to walk into my flip so that I am giving the hitter the same type of feel like a pitcher is delivering a pitch. I don't want them to feel like I'm just sticking it at them. And then all of a sudden, because they got to go through their steps, their sequence to hit. So if I go like a left-right flip and make sure I'm getting behind the screen, like something firm, you'll be able to throw a ton of strikes. Front toss is great. If you don't have an L screen, you're going to have to do side toss. Now, once you go from tee to these tosses, you're adding the element of timing and a dance partner. So when that ball is sitting on the tee, there's my timing isn't really important. I have all the time in the world to do whatever I want to get in different body positions. But the second you start adding any kind of toss, now they have to have timing. So if I was doing flips with Tanner from the side because I didn't have an L screen from the front, most people will not get very close to the hitter. They'll get far away because they think they're protecting themselves, and then they'll be throwing the ball into the hitter. And I think that's no good. I actually think like a side toss, if I have a chair, I'm going to sit down or I'll get on a knee. And as long as I'm behind Tanner, I'm going to hold the ball up, I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to pop it so that if I flipped it, it's going to land on the contact point that we're working. So for me, it's more of a give him the hand and pop it up, and he's going to hit it almost out of my hand. Now, I'm going to be safe even though I'm this close as long as I pop it out in front. The way I'd be in trouble right now is that if I flip something back to him. Okay? Dart throw would basically be this setup, and then you're just kind of giving them an overhand little dart. Once you start getting into batting practice is harder than you think for coaches to throw good strikes. And if you can't throw good strikes, try to get yourself hands on a machine or a facility that has a machine. Don't waste your time and frustration and their time if you can't keep the practice going and throw them strikes. And don't feel bad. Throwing batting practice is not easy. And then lastly, velocity. Now, if a kid is struggling, what do? You just go up the progression and you make it easier for them. But trying to give kids stuff way down at the bottom when they're not ready for it, to me, that's a mistake. How am I doing on time here? Am I over? I'm almost done. Blast sensor. I did this. Tanner had one maybe when he was 7 or 8. You can get these for about $120. There's an app, and you take a swing with the sensor, and it'll give you certain measures, and you click on the measure, and it's anything from bat speed to the angle that the bat's coming into the zone, the angle of the bat after contact, and it's green, yellow, or red. Green, good. Yellow maybe needs some work, and red. You click on the red, and it's Bluetooth with your phone or iPad, and it prescribes drills for you. Pretty slick for $100-some rather than dumping all kinds of money on an instructor. So I really do think blast sensor is a good thing. Final thought, do not talk mechanics when it's time for athletes to perform. Do not be coaching third trying to give a hitter hitting lessons. They are dancing with the date that they brought to the dance. Whatever their swing is at that time, you encourage them to compete. You encourage them to get a good ball to hit and put their best swing on it. Do not be at third trying to coach a hitter. It's all about their reaction coming out, and they're better off having less going on in their mind and competing than trying to have all their thoughts be internal. And the more stuff you give a hitter during the game, now all of a sudden they're going to start to think that they're not prepared and ready to compete. The most I would ever do, if I absolutely saw something, I might say, hey, do this drill next time when you come up to bat. But then once you go back in that box to compete, it's see the ball, hit the ball. When you're working with a hitter, 1 or 2 things. Don't try to do everything at once. And then the 2 questions, like, let's say a kid swings and misses or doesn't hit a ball good. Before you go into a deep mechanical dive, were you on time and did you swing at a good pitch? If either of those is no, I wasn't on time, then it's the dance partner. The sequence is just off. But that does not mean like all of a sudden you got to go down this deep mechanical dive with them and try to fix everything. Lastly, you challenge them when you need to. If you challenge them too much, they're going to think you're an ass. You support them when they need it. So you put your arm around them and you pick them up when you see a kid that's down. And then other times you just say nothing and just be patient. So great coaching is finding the balance in the three. One of too many of those is not good. So when you're coaching kids and parents are coming out to games, they're coming out to see the kids play. They're not coming out to see us coach. So, and we're on stage and spotlight, and the kids are putting themselves out there, you know, and it's going to go really, really good, or it's going to go really, really bad. And you pick the button you need to push there, but people aren't coming out to see us coach. So, okay. Sorry if I went over there. Okay. Thank you for your time. Do you want Tanner for your stances?
You
Hi guys, thank you again to Coach Beyna. Obviously, as he said, he was one of the coaches that influenced myself as a young high school player. I had the pleasure of playing for him in high school, being a part of a really successful team. So I'm really grateful that he was here to speak tonight, and I hope you guys learned a lot from him because he has a plethora of knowledge. My name's Bill Montemayor. My assistant varsity head coach passing out his catching handouts is Kevin Miller. We've been together, part of this program, since about 2013. We've had a lot of success as assistant coaches. And then in 2020, when I was able to take over as the head coach, he's been my partner in crime. He's been my right-hand man. I couldn't do it without him. So I'm very grateful that he's here tonight and going to be presenting to you guys. And I hope that you could take away something from our short presentation here. If you have any questions or you want a copy of the PowerPoint slides, I'll be happy to share that with Nelson, and he can email those to you. So if you don't want to be writing down a million things tonight, you don't have to. Okay? We're going to talk about the Buffalo Grove pitching principles. I'm going to focus more on pitching this evening. And they really come down to about 5 principles that we have. The first one is commanding the zone, right? We have a philosophy in our program. I'm sure you guys have been told this. First pitch strike is what you tell all your kids, right, growing up. Our philosophy is 2 out of the first 3. And I'll really dive into that as we kind of get into some of the drills we are. But if you want to pitch for us, you have to be in the zone. We can't be going down 3-1, constantly being full counts. You have to be able to fill the zone up. And we have a variety of different strategies that we have to do that. And it sounds easy, right? You always hear the coach from the sideline, just throw strikes, right? It's a lot harder than it looks and it thinks. So that's one of our points of our principles. The second one, we take a lot of pride in this, controlling the run game. We really pray that the pitch clock and that the MLB rules never hit high school because we'll be in trouble if they require us to not be able to pick so much. But it's really a philosophy of ours that we've had a lot of success, got our pitchers out of some crucial jams, and we work on it. We take pride in that. The next one, as Coach Beyna was talking about it from a hitting standpoint, being on balance as a hitter, we're trying to disrupt that timing. We're trying to get hitters off balance. So the ability to be able to pitch backwards, the ability to be able to throw, breaking balls or off-speed pitches and fastball counts. That's something that we work on with our pitchers, and the ones that we've had the most success here in our time here have had the ability to do that. Next one's be an athlete. All right, or like PFPs, we tell our pitchers, when a fly ball goes up, we're not pointing to the sky hoping our shortstop runs it. Okay, at our level, and I'm sure at the youth level, sometimes your best athlete is on the mound, and it's the same for us. We have our shortstops pitching. We're not in a position, like Bartolo Colon's on the mound. We don't have anybody like that just to point to the sky. You got to be able to field your position. So again, we work on that. I'll show you a drill that I think does a great job of kind of promoting that in practice that you can use. And then the last one is just control the controllables. We really preach the mental side of the game, especially from a pitching standpoint. We talk to our pitchers ahead of time, how do you handle pressure, second and third, the game's on the line or you're struggling, some different techniques that they can do from a breathing standpoint. But really we try to just preach, you can control what you can control. You control your preparation, you can control your attitude, but you can't always control those results. So we really work on that. So that's pretty much our philosophies from a pitching standpoint. In terms of the 2 out of 3 philosophy, this is just a little bit of a chart. It's a little outdated from 2019. But as you can imagine, we have the counts here. If pitchers fall behind 2-0 or 2-1, batting average, on base percentage significantly higher, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. So we don't want to put all that pressure on strike one. Obviously, it helps to be able to throw 2 out of the first 3 if you do get ahead 0-1. But you're not defeated in that situation, right? And you just kind of can see the average here. If you get ahead 1-2 or 0-2, hitters are in the 100s. Same thing with their on-base percentage from a batting average, right? Easy concept, right? To say, yeah, we need to get ahead 2 out of the first 3, but how do we get there? And these are some of the principles and some of the drills that we'll do in our program. And the one that I'll kind of dive into deeply, and it's I know it might just say, oh, wow, they're just going to talk about like a throw series, warming up. All right, but think about every practice that you begin with starts with a dynamic warm-up and you throw, right? And we see kids all the time come into our program. They're down the line, just kind of throwing like this, developing bad habits. We really put an emphasis on our routine, and we have intent with everything that we do. So I really challenge you. I know I'm guilty of it at times. You just tell the guys, go down the line and start throwing, right? But be present. Have a coach there if you're able to be there to monitor it. They're young kids, right? They're going to try and be doing back, like the Savannah Bananas catches. Try and have some intent. Yeah, it's great to have fun, obviously. But we want them to develop good throwing mechanics. And I'll break down our throwing progression in a second here. And then the other ones I'll dive into as well. Those are just some drills that we use in our program. Okay, so the first one, this is how we all begin our throwing. So if we're inside, we'll start on like the baseline of a basketball court, and I'll have our partner about like, anywhere from like 8 to 10 feet away. And we just go on 2 knees. As you can see here, he was a little camera shy, didn't want to look up. All right, but you're going to get your throwing hand in a 4-seam grip behind the baseball. Your non-throwing hand or your glove hand is going to be underneath your throwing elbow. And all we're doing right here is just trying to give him a big target in this situation because the person receiving is also going to be working on transfers, right? And we encourage failure in our program. So we encourage the guy receiving. We're trying to do ball transfers as fast as we possibly can, heel the ball, get the ball to your ear. And again, if you drop it, that's okay, right? And as the thrower in this portion, we want to get the elbow up, 4-seam grip, and we're trying just to create some tunnel action, some backspin that you could see with the 4-seam grip, and just kind of pop our partner right in the chest, okay? And it helps with like a rundown drill. If you ever are going to be doing rundowns, we teach ball out, get the ball up, and it's the same kind of action as you would do in a rundown.
One thing I would just say.
Yep.
I just love.
Oh, the ball.
I mean, we say 4-seam grip. I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence with this, but like, we also will say when we do like our kids camp, or even freshmen don't know what that means. You can put your hands across the horseshoe. Sometimes we play like that. This is 4 seams. When you're playing on defense, this is how you should throw the ball because it's going to be your straightest ball. Okay, so when we say 4 seams, that's what we mean. And when they're releasing the ball, it should tumble with 4 seams because that means that ball is going to carry straight.
Okay. Next one. We go 1 knee, and at this point, we back up the guy on the line. So if you're outside, we just have one partner on the foul line. The guy off the foul line will be the person that moves back. So we'll probably back this up to anywhere from like, I don't know, 20 to 30 feet. And some key points here is the front toe. Okay, we want that pointed inward. If it's a right-handed thrower, just think of the clock. We tell that front foot to be between 12 and 1 o'clock. And if you're left-handed, 11 and 12 o'clock. It's just a good visual. It helps them get that feel of not opening up that hip and losing all that power. So we want them to get a little bit further out in their stride and have that front toe closed. Okay?
Another way to say that, if that's not not queuing in with them. A lot of kids will be in Nikes or whatever their logo is. Where's your logo pointing? That's another way you can do it. Whatever. And if you're staying 45-degree angle, sometimes kids don't know what that means. Just different cues for kids. Sometimes that goes a long way.
Okay, your glove hand, we want like the thumb down, ball up above our shoulder. Okay, our wrist is going to be stacked right over our elbow. And in this position, we don't do ball to wall anymore. Okay, we still have that four seam grip. But if I was in this position, it would be facing the wall. Oh, did it fall off?
Oh, am I
It's
supposed
for
to?
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
there
bad.
you go, for you. Okay. So we're just this nice, good power position with our front foot closed and one knee. And we're going to be really, I didn't say this at the beginning, as we're moving back, we want our angle of the ball, the trajectory of the ball to be going up. We're not trying to throw 100 miles per hour right here, trying to kill our partner. So we want to be able to throw upward on an upward trajectory while still maintaining good mechanics and working on our finish. Okay, this is an overemphasis on our finish, but we want to finish with the flat back. A lot of times when you see kids playing catch, they're just kind of like this, flipping the ball, not having that intent, not having that focus. So just another cue, just kind of have them make sure they kind of reach to that back pocket and go from there.
One of the things I really kind of emphasize when you draw, you just have side. A lot of times, those kids throw their glove this way.
Yeah, sure.
They keep control it. So I'm interested in what you guys teach, but I teach more like a tuck your arm as you're coming through, follow through. So you're kind of like
Like the love the glove. Yeah, love the glove.
Yeah, like the old adage is like love the glove. You know, a lot that's coached a lot of ways. Some people have debunked that and said like the Roger Clemens way is get it out of there. I don't think it's a horrible cue for kids. I definitely don't think you want to get out of here and get all in athletic. Yeah. And the other thing I would say about that finish, what we're seeing a ton of with high school kids is this recoil where they're not finishing. You know, they're not even getting off this backside, and it's leading to a lot of shoulder problems. You'll see a lot of kids who think you're supposed to throw this way, and there's a lot of big leaguers who still are throwing this way. You have to finish, all right? Reach for that back butt cheek, we'll say. Any way we can get them to finish with a flat back, and it'll be challenging for them. And we all have phones in our pockets. You know, I'm not like a big proponent of taking the phone out during practice, but like sometimes they think their back is flat, and then you show them a video, and they're like, holy cow, I'm not even close. Get them to really emphasize finishing with a flat back because it's going to keep them safe.
Okay. At this point, we'll move back to about 45 to 60 feet, and we're just going cement drill. So we just tell our players to get in an athletic stance, feet shoulder width apart, and it's the same concept. We're just kind of taking the lower half out, and we're just kind of getting into that rotation with the thumb down, ball up above the shoulder. We don't want the ball down here, so get that ball up, and it's the same thing. We're just following through and finishing with a nice, good flat back and hitting our partner directly in the chest. Okay, and it works on that trunk rotation. Anything else said or good? Okay. The next one you could do where you have them put their front foot down. It's the scarecrow position. So when you work back, obviously if you're working with the younger age group, the distances might change just based on the age. But for us at the high school level, we're probably getting into that 90 foot range here. And we're going to get into a power position. You might hear it called the scarecrow or the rocker drill. And we're just, again, key emphasis on that front foot being at that like 11 to 12 if you're left-handed and 12 to 1 if you're right-handed, getting that arm up. And we're just really getting in that power position where we're going to load up on the backside and then be able to deliver all the way through again with that flat back. And again, really focus on getting that arm up, that glove hand arm up, and the ball up in that good position. You can just have them simply rock back into the power position, or you could do the rocker drill where you have them spread out. They kind of lean forward as they're coming back. They start to separate their hands and then follow through and throw with the finish.
And when we've done this with little kids, you know, our little kid camp or even our freshmen, sometimes our varsity guys, unfortunately, when they do that rocker step, sometimes the elbow or the shoulder shoots up. We don't want that. We always say like scarecrow with that front arm, that back arm is like a goalpost. So like if you needed another cue for a kid, so this is what it should look like. And again, we do not believe in ball to the wall. We're always keeping ball facing the opposite direction.
So you're saying move the ball forward now?
It's not forward.
Yeah. Hey, you want to show?
Yeah, it's like this. So if I'm throwing in this direction, it'd be facing that wall, not forward, like not ball to wall.
No, we do not believe in ball to the wall.
Yeah. All right, the next one, again, this kind of goes with our intent based on whether they're an infielder or an outfielder. We have different points when we get to 90 feet. This is a 1-step and 2-step that our infielders do, and I'll show you the video here in a second. But we always want them working on different things. So our outfielders, at this point, they're going to mimic like they're catching a fly ball. So we have so many times at the high school level, I'm sure you guys do at the youth level, we're catching fly balls on our back foot, which causes an extra second for you to transfer. It might be the difference of you being able to throw out a runner, taking an extra base and whatnot. So we always want to be having the emphasis on moving forward if we can when we're catching fly balls. So our outfielders will work on that at this point. They can even throw the ball up to themselves to kind of get into that movement and that rhythm. And then our infielders again here, 1-step versus 2-step. 1-step, you're going to have to get rid of the ball quicker, right? It might be a fast runner. They don't have as much time. So you're not going to get that extra shuffle, which I'll show here in a second. And then the 2-step, you might have a little bit more time to gather yourself and get in that 2-step direction towards the base you're throwing to.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is, yeah, go ahead and take a look. So I'm the infield coach. I always speak in terms of 1-step, 2-step. I don't like them ever taking more than 2 steps as they gather themselves towards first base, because as they do, they get weak in their mechanics. They start to stand up. And a lot of times we finish high and then we'll throw a high baseball to first base. I just believe in 1-step or 2-step, and that's the verbiage we use in our dugout. I would say, like, one thing that Coach and I really believe in, it's just us two at practice. And like, catch is something we do for 20 minutes every day, the same exact way every single time. We get more advanced than just 1-step, 2-step, so we're showing you today, but there's always intentionality, and catch is a big deal for us. It's a perfect time, and we try to guard against this where we could start, swinging our fungo like it's golf, or we can, start BSing about what we saw. And we try to be very intentional, because I will tell you this, as soon as we get lax with the routines, and again, it's just 2 of us. If you have more hands on deck, that's ideal. As soon as we get lax with some of these routines, the kids will start to get lax. So it's almost like, we try to have the practice plan, everything's ready to go so that we can be present for catch. And we ask our kids to be present for catch as well, because it's a very important part of practice.
What are you guys teaching young kids, like T-ballers first? Are you starting with hitting and just focusing on hitting? Or are you do you change that a little bit as they get older and focus more on catch? Or
I mean, I would say whatever the level is, I would have a catch routine. I would have some sort of dynamic warm up right into a catch routine. I think there's not a young. I mean, if they're starting to play baseball, you teaching some of these fundamentals is huge. Even just the 4-seam grip, tabletop catch, those sorts of things are very important.
All right, this is as we get to 120. Obviously, if you're working with the T-ball level, you're not going to have them go to 120 feet. So again, your distances will change. Your long toss might be, 75 feet, might be 90 feet. So again, this is just our number. We try and work back to 120. Obviously, when we're indoors, we don't always get to that distance. But we just talk about step behind step, all right? Because we want our players to use their lower half. And what I mean by step behind step is the lead leg, we're going to take 1 step forward. Our back leg is going to take 1 step behind. And now our lead leg is kind of gathering us into that power position to gain momentum toward our throw, which is forcing us to use our lower half instead of just trying to wing it as hard as we possibly can using all of our arm. So again, it's just another kind of just a phrase that you can say, step behind step. You might have to show them, right? It's like doing a little bit of dancing, a little coordination, but just step behind step and throw. And that's what we do at 120, just to kind of make sure they're using their lower half. And again, we're still going up at that point. We're not trying to take the Ferrari out of the garage yet and put some heat on it. Okay. When we move back in, that's when we kind of emphasize to our players they can kind of unleash a little bit. We get back to 90 feet. I'm not going to dive into this, but our infielders do what's called Mahomes, just throwing from different arm slots, right? Maybe they're having to make a play on the run. They might drop down here. So we just kind of have different arm slots that they'll throw from. Our outfielders, we'll just try and say hit the B on the top of our hat, working on target practice like they're hitting a cutoff man. That's just kind of giving them another emphasis on to maintain that focus. And then we go to 60 feet, and we're just working quick hands, quick feet. All right, and our catchers will have different points that we emphasize. Our pitchers might be working on grips when they get to 90 and 120. They'll be throwing all changeups potentially, just working on different field pitches. So there's so much that you can incorporate into your throw series. Okay. This is a drill I got from Nate Yeske. He was at Oregon State when I was at the ABCA and saw this. Again, it's just a different way to kind of approach your bullpens. And again, I see it all the time. I get so annoyed if I see it at our open gyms because we're not supposed to coach. But, you know, guys get on the bullpen and they're just messing around. They're talking to their buddies in between pitches. There's no intent, right? They're just getting on there to throw. This kind of gives us that intentional piece. And all you really need, you could do this. If you have one plate, you can do it if you're fortunate enough to have a bunch of different types of throw home plates. But you just set up the home plate at different distances. For us, we do 45 feet, 55 feet, 60 feet, and then we go further than the high school level, which is 60 feet, 6 inches. We'll move it back to 65 feet, and we have different emphasis on each segment. So on the 45 feet, it's closer. We're emphasizing more of like angle and tilt, and we want action in the box. So I'll either put the emphasis, this is all fastballs in this series, is you got to get on top of that baseball if you want to be able to hit the bottom of the zone at our catcher from 45 feet. So if they're lagging behind, they're getting under the ball, or maybe their arms lagging behind, they're never going to be able to hit that catcher's shin guards from that distance. Okay, so we really put an emphasis on that. Kind of gets them that feeling, you know, maybe I'm not getting my front foot down earlier enough. Maybe I'm opening up or flying open. This will kind of give them that immediate feedback. 55 feet as a hitter, they have 2 strike approaches. As pitchers, we need to have 2 strike approaches too. So at this portion, we're working on our put away pitch, right? So if we're going to miss, we want to miss out of the middle of the zone. We know we worked hard to get those first 2 out of 3. We don't want to make a mistake right down the center of the plate. So we're working breaking balls down and away, you know, fastballs up, locating up and in and so forth. Again, just gives them that purpose and intent. 60 feet, you can do full arsenal. You could give them directions like glove side, arm side, full arsenal. You can just let them throw 7 or 8 pitches from this distance and go. And then this is what I really like is the 65 feet. We do all changeups. It forces them not to, you know, you've all seen a kid get on the mound and try and push a pitch or baby a pitch to the catcher. You will not be able to make it to the catcher at 65 feet. So it forces them to manipulate their grip and be able to get to that distance and throw through the catcher if they want to make it to that 65 feet range. Okay. Play the string. This is another one. If you're at a local park, you could just put up a PVC pipe or you know, just type of pipe and tie a string on it. We used to just do the bottom of the zone, and we set this up as another visual for our pitchers. If you don't have a catcher, you can use the 9-hole box, or you can just put up a sock net if you really don't have anything, or you could throw into a fence, whatever works for you guys at your facilities. But it just gives another visual. You could create a competition, 2 guys throwing pens, you know, trying to play the string. It'll go right through it. It won't ricochet the ball, and the catcher will still be able to receive it and not get hurt. And again, we started incorporating the top of the zone as well with a lot of guys, you know, dropping down launch angle, dropping the bucket out of their barrel. We might attack guys up in the zone, so we put the string on the top as well. Okay. I'm going to skip the tying bullpens just for the sake of time. And then the last one, this is just kind of our athlete drill. It just gives you a ton of reps and incorporates so many different aspects into our practice. We'll have 3 pitching mounds, just throw mounds. You don't need to get an actual mound out there. And we'll have our pitchers kind of go through. We'll do a pick series, maybe the first round, maybe the second round, it's PFPs. So you can kind of see here the different rotations that we have. We'll have our shortstops at each base, second baseman, 2 working there. First base, we'll have base runners. So everyone's kind of getting incorporated into the drill. With us, we have multiple guys that play positions who pitch. So, you know, I'll have to make sure I get Drew Carrison to come from first base to the mound and rotate them in. But this is an example. The first mound, they're going to be working inside pickoffs to second base. So they're just coming up, down, and turning over. Second mound, you might have flash picks in your program where shortstop just flashes his glove side turn on the mound. That's going to be what they're focusing on in that segment. And then mound 3 is just your picks to first base, whether you're right-handed or left-handed. You can do that, kind of rotate them through 1 rep each. So they're getting a ton of reps, and then you can change the rotation each time. So you're getting a lot of different segments in there with a lot of different reps for guys to get real life, action. This is kind of the setup. Obviously, they're not all geared up here, but you can see we have 3 pitchers, 3 catchers. We'll have the middle infielders up there. We have Jordan Dudek over here being the base runner at first base. And again, you can work bunt drills, you can work pick plays, you can work pitch outs, anything that you would really want to in this segment. It's a great way to get a lot of reps in your practice. Okay. You want to do catching, or do you want to just?
I'll go quick.
Take it time.
I can go quick. I promise.
All right.
I can't not talk a little catching. Yeah, I feel like for me, catching, I never would have guessed that I'd be talking to you guys about catching. I didn't become a catcher until much later in my career. I think that the statement I would make to you is get kids playing as many positions as you possibly can. I was somebody who didn't play any position particularly well until I kind of settled into catcher later in my college career. And gosh, I wish I would have seen that perspective a little bit earlier, or maybe wanted it more, because, it's taken me a lot of places. I mean, I never would have guessed this either. Like, catching is probably the position I'm most passionate about in coaching. My first gig coaching was coaching catchers for the Texas Rangers in the Dominican Republic. I knew somebody, I got a job, and I've actually kind of gone backwards since. And I feel like catching has always been, since I became a coach, has always been like kind of my thing. So again, play guys in as many positions as you can. And if a kid wants to catch, like, get them back there, let them see that perspective, because it teaches you a lot about the game. Dynamic warm-up, this pre-drill routine, I gave you the handout. I thought to myself, if I could give coaches 2 things that they could work on their catchers regardless of the age, like now, this would be 2 things that I would show you. The first thing is, and Coach Beyna and I were talking about it, his hips are bad. He actually has 2 new ones, as he said. My hips, and I didn't catch very long, not great. I played multiple positions, and then they'd be like, hey, you're gonna catch today. I think a lot of the things I do as a coach are things that I should have done as a player. It's a hip routine, but here's the other thing it acts as, and we are big on preparation. We are big on being present. It's just 2 of us. So I might be coaching the infielders. I will send the catchers, go start your routine. It's very important to me that our guys prepare before everything, that they're present, and they pre-commit to whatever drills that we are doing. Everything is also done together. We have a tendency to be a little bit militant. I would say that we want, if our guys are showing up late, we want them all showing up late. If our guys, we want them entering a space together, setting up the practice together. We want them moving to drills together, because we think over the course of time, that helps you win on the margins here or there in a big game. And we do not catch a ball off a mound. Sometimes coach will be like, I need a catcher. And I'll be like, they got to finish their routine, because I am passionate about them protecting their hips. Let's just go quick. I know we're on a pitch clock. This right here. Oops, go back to that. I could talk to you about this for hours if I could. And this is not something I came up with. This is from the Mental ABCs of Pitching. It's a great book. Anything by Dorfman is great if you're talking baseball. Preparation and attitude, we talk about control the controllables. This will be up in our dugout. I will say it constantly. You can control your preparation. You can control your attitude. You cannot control the results. I really wish that you could, but what we found is if we take care of those top 2, the results will often take care of themselves. And for me, I always tell our guys, you can pass the mirror test, when the game's over, whether you're 0 for 4, 4 for 4, if you prepared the way you knew that you should, and then you went into it with a great attitude. And I think it dovetails off what Coach Beyna was saying. You can only do so much in the game. You can control those top 2. All right, go. This first drill is the stance stretch. It's very basic. We're just trying to sit as low as we possibly can in our stance. This kid is inexperienced with the drill. Speaking of preparation, I waited till the last minute, so I had to use a junior. And he's never done this. He hasn't been one of my catchers yet, but we kind of talk through it as we go. Luckily, the sound's off because I'm coaching him through it the whole time. We're just trying to get as low as we possibly can with our butt. Just a stand stretch, kind of feel it. We get into it for 3 seconds. That's the first drill. And we do a little bit different variant of what you're looking at in front of you. We add a little bit extra things. I tried to think, if I was a kid, what could they do? Duck walks, I'd say so nice. We do it twice. This is something we go back, forth, back, forth. It's really, your hip is a ball and socket joint. So is your shoulder. We often do arm circles. We do all sorts of things for arm care. but we're not doing it with our hips. So this drill really is like doing arm circles. You're trying to rotate that thing all the way through. Leapfrogs, it's just like goes back to recess, right? We are also trying to kind of be violent a little bit as we're getting loose, thinking of our hip pointer. If you've caught and like your hips are in a bad way, you go to get in the car and you feel something, you're like, oh no, it's going to be bad for a few weeks or your season might be in jeopardy. So we're just trying to be violent there because there's a lot of violent actions you do with catching. Fire up, same thing. He is horrible at these. I would say he needs to be more violent. You could kick back and drive up, and you do that full speed, and then we do it at a 45-degree angle. He's kind of off balance. He's a good guy. He's going to be a good catcher, but we're still working at it. Wax on, wax off. You'll see what this looks like. We're just, again, kind of trying to rotate that ball and socket all the way through. Go here, then we come back through. It's just a way for us to kind of get our hips activated a little bit. Next one, what we got? All good. Yoga stretch. It's really just you're doing a butterfly stretch without touching. All right, so you're trying to keep your knees as close to the ground as you possibly can. I then have them hold it for a butterfly for 20 seconds. That's, again, just activating all of our lower half and our muscles so that when they get down into a crouch or when they're going into a bullpen, that they're prepared. Wall sit with a creative box drill. This is often where I am telling them what our drills are for the day. I'm telling them to pre-commit. I cannot tell you enough. If you could get catchers, whatever position, I love coaching catchers because they're like coaching offensive linemen. It's like people yell at them all the time. If they do something wrong, people notice it right away. If they have a good game, it's probably because they didn't get noticed. You know, they're like hearing, pitchers jawing at them constantly. They're like throwing on the gear. I love coaching the position, right? And a lot of times it's a little bit easier to get a catcher to pre-commit, but I can't tell you enough. Like, tell your kids what the practice is going to be. 15 minutes of being present is way better than 2 hours of thinking about what happened last game or what's going to happen the next game. We talk about with our leadership team here at Buffalo Grove High School, like, I can't emphasize enough. Be present, pre-commit. We're here. Live where your feet are. There's a million ways to say it. When you're practicing, live in that moment. Next thing, pre-pitch roll. This is one thing I think it unlocked a lot in me in terms of a receiver when I learned it. I think you could teach a young kid how to do it. It's a receiving skill that will add confidence and will make you more efficient at, I use the terminology, beating a strike. And a lot of times when I talk receiving, we're talking about strikes. I don't talk about balls. We're not miracle workers. We're trying to catch strikes effectively. So I teach two. One is the quarter turn. My personal belief is the hardest pitch to catch in the game is that low inside fastball and really having that thumb placement where you want it to be. The other thing in terms of safety, you start catching velocity and you start doing these guys, your thumb eventually can go, and I don't want that either. So another cool thing, and this is, if you ever want to see, like, if you do like Fenway Park bullpens and things, they get right up in the grill of some of these really good pitchers. I found some retro ones. So this is going to be the quarter turn. All right, the pre-pitch roll is similar to a prep step. When the pitcher gets to attack phase and is releasing the ball, you go from your target, your good low target, or wherever you're trying to command the zone, and then you just give a slight, it's almost like you're going, I gotta admit real quick, it's almost like you're going to shake someone's hand with your left hand, just really loose, relax your wrists, relax your forearm, and what it does, it's kind of like motion begets motion. It allows you to be quicker to beat that ball to spot. A lot of catchers I see, little kids or even like the guys we get and they come into high school, it's kind of like everything's late and jerky. You have a prep step on defense. You have that stride separation, as coach said. When you're talking about hitting, you have to have motion. If you just go from like a standstill, you just can't execute the skill. This is the other one I will teach. Most catchers prefer this. I don't as much, but it's just show the back of the hand. Okay, so when he gets to attack phase, show the back of the hand. The thing that I think it gives you a little bit of a leg up on is driving underneath the pitch on the bottom of the zone. So you'll see it right here. This is Cliff Lee. This is retro. I thought this one was pretty cool. I found it today. I'm not even sure who the catcher is, but you can see the back of his hand. When Lee gets to attack phase, you're going to see he's kind of show that back of the hand. And when you talk about like driving underneath it with our thumb, here's another example with Kershaw. This is before the World Series where he actually gets rocked. But he is going to, this one's a little bit loud. No, this is the one I like. This is Barnes. His is not as loud as the last one. It's just, what I mean by loud is sometimes too much. It keeps you from getting to the spot you need to get to. So I don't know. I would teach that to a catcher as soon as possible, kind of unlocks them receiving wise. And I think especially as you start catching people with kids with movement, or like if you're, I don't know, if you have like a sixth grader catching an eighth grader, that can be very scary. And I think this skill kind of unlocks something in you where like, it's okay. I just need to, and I call it target, relax, stick. Almost every drill I do when I'm working with a kid, and again, boy, this poor kid, he was so nervous. I am saying out loud, target, relax, stick. So it's very similar to a lot of drills we do with hitting, where again, it's that motion, similar to that stride separation. As I'm bringing my hand back, he is trying to relax his hand. He's very loud with it. You could see he's kind of like dropping all the way down. It's just a subtle movement to attack. He also has a baseball tucked right here because, you know, your three fingers are where you're going to want to catch the baseball. Those are like your pinchers. I would also say like young kids, I think they think they're supposed to catch the ball in the pocket. That's not where you want to catch the ball. You can actually see with this glove, there's like a black spot right there. That's where you want it. Kids who catch it in the pocket, I think in other positions you do, but you want to catch it right here. That's where the glove should really be beaten up. So, all right, I tried to go fast.
No, that was good.
Where's the baseball bat? I didn't understand.
It's like right here. So like,
Oh yeah, my bad.
yeah, like, in between his pinky and
I would
ring
say
finger.
tennis balls too. Tennis balls or super balls or whatever, just to get them kind of thinking three fingers, and you know where their thumb is relative to the zone, I think is very important. But start there, get kids behind the plate, let them see that perspective, play them up the middle, let them. And I know the feeling. It's like, I want to win this game. The other coach is a jerk. You know, my best shortstop's out there, and I don't want to take him out. And you know, Johnny had a tough day last time, and he looks good in right field right now. Just stick to your guns and get these kids experience. I'm like all about winning, absolutely. But I think if kids are going to find ways to become the players that they're supposed to be, they have to have different perspectives and just see it from a different lens. And I want you guys to win as many games as you possibly can, but I think the kids and their experience also don't forget about that fact too.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go. I'll get you. Oh, he's got the computer.
hi, Mom.
I mean, that is a BG Stevenson rivalry right there.
That's it. Yeah, you just walk right out. It's all good.
It's rookie hazing motto. That's what it is right there.
I'll take it. It's okay. Sent it to Nelson.
Oh, I thought you said okay. Yeah. I got you.
Thanks. So just a show of hands, who is coaching high school, below high school, youth? What age? Okay, let's see. 12 to, let's say 10 to 15, 10 to 13. What is youth these days? 10 to
This is
13?
all 14 and under. Mostly
Mostly?
13 and under.
Okay.
Yeah. Mostly 12 and under.
Okay. Cool. All right.
I'm pulling it up.
No worries. Cool. All right, so my name is Chris D'Amato, the head coach at Stevenson High School. I spent the last 10 years over at Evanston Township High School, and then just starting in about November became the head coach at Stevenson High School. So it's been definitely a whirlwind, getting used to just a different kind of scene and how things are done. But it's been an absolutely amazing experience so far up to this point. I am accompanied by 3 of our seniors, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves.
My name is Ryan, the senior corner fielder, and I'll play at. And Naomi, I'm senior as well. I also play infield. Baby Troy, play shortstop, and then I'm going to Illinois. Play football.
And I asked these 3 guys to be here today because when we're talking about culture, right away, these 3 guys made an impact on me and how they interacted with their peers and how they went about their business in the weight room. So having to give a culture talk when I've only been in the head coaching position for 2 months, there's obviously not a lot that I have put into place, nor can I put everything into place right away. But some of the things that I have put into place, we'll talk about. Again, Ryan, Aiden, and Sam. Okay, so my mission statement and what is at the heart of my why and why I coach. It's to help develop our student athletes become the very best selfless versions of themselves. So what does that mean? It's a whole lot of words. I just want to spend each day with these guys trying to make them the very best human being possible. Not allowing one thing to go through, right? If they're coming to a workout, it's making sure that we're coming prepared and on time. We're detail oriented, we're preparing, and we're preparing with a lot of energy as well. So again, that's our mission statement, or that's my mission statement. And I want to encourage all of you to do the same as you are coaching youth levels. We are relying heavily on you to help make the game of baseball or softball the very best it can possibly be. And it definitely starts at the youth levels. Again, a cornerstone of something that I tell our guys every day: when you cater to talent over character, you lose your culture. That's something that, again, I learned from the ABCA this past year, but it's something that I've always truly believed in. I don't necessarily agree with playing the 9 best players. I believe in playing the 9 right ones. Which guys will make our lineup click? Which guys are going to provide the energy off the bench that we need when we're going through a tough stretch? Okay. These are the pillars that when I came into Stevenson right away, I talked to our guys about, starting with discipline, intensity, relentless, and team. So I briefly mentioned discipline. When we have a team workout, we're showing up on time. When we have our practices starting March 2nd or March 5th, when that team is made, we are all going to look the same exact way. Okay, we're all going to be matching. We're all going to have baseball pants on. Everything we do is with a purpose, intensity. Aiden, can you talk about our intensity so far in the weight room?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you said, showing up on time always, and pushing each other. Like you said, most important thing is character, and having a team full of guys with strong character is absolutely helping you. Honestly, great intensity.
And one of these guys too, Sam, the way he interacts and the way he moves around the weight room, you can tell he's always a man of energy. And I think that's because I just found out he has a hidden skill. Maybe he'll talk about it in a little bit. But again, I can always rely on him with the intensity piece. So again, this is just, again, a moral compass of discipline and what's important to us. Every day we bring it up in that weight room. Ryan, how do we bring it up?
We do one clap, light us up. The team gets really loud, and then we do boom. We do that twice, and then we do team first, team last.
Okay, so I want to highlight there team first, team last. It is very well known that not one person is above the rest of the team. Again, the second slide said that the second we jeopardize our character, we're losing our culture. Okay, so we wanted to highlight that and make that a point to our pillars. And this is our compass and how we kind of navigate that. One thing that I really believe in, again, is something called energy transferring behaviors. Every day these guys come into the weight room, I dap them up, I give them a hug. Every day we leave, I dap them up, I give them a hug. If they fail on something, so what? Now what? Good job, keep going. Okay? So I'm going to show this short clip here of energy transferring behaviors, where we got it from and why it's important.
In the first season that Steve Nash won the NBA, he actually only led the league in 2 statistical categories. The first would be a tip. He liked to share the sugar, he liked to pass the hill, he liked to get other people involved. Served and traded great leader. But you know the other Steve Nash led the NBA. Acting physical touching. I'm talking about literally high five, fist bumps. You're probably wondering, how can I see led the NBA high five, fist bumps, and pats to the backside? Well, it just so happens it was a research. They were conducting an official study. They wanted to measure if showing signs of physical enthusiasm actually led to a release. So they hired a team of researchers to watch every minute of every NBA game, make a tally mark every time a player. When Phoenix Suns, who Steve Nash played for at the time, are so enamored with this study, they hired a full-time intern. How many of you have ever before? Yeah. Can you imagine if that was your character? Yeah, so this guy, I'll show you that. In the first game that the intern counted for Steve Nash, he delivered 239 high fives, fist bumps, on the backside. He was a furnace of human interaction. Now, in the game of basketball, where physicality is appropriate, it has been physiologically proven. You can transfer energy to another human being through physical touch. You can indeed raise someone's game with a well-placed high.
Okay, so I want to highlight that. I teach freshman boys at Evanston, and they come in every day excited to either get a dap or a hug. Okay, almost to the point where it's like, all right, I'm good. Like I don't need to dap any more of you guys. I get it, but it means a lot. You're able to transfer again that energy, and then that energy spreads across your dugout. So again, physical touches. The next thing is eye contact. Okay, the gateway to the soul, I really believe this, is through the eyes. One of the first things that I told all three of these guys is that I value eye contact. When we bring it up every single day in the weight room, we make sure that we have that eye contact with one another. It is amazing the difference it makes with a team when you have that consistent eye contact. So please, I encourage you right now at the youth levels, start building those skills that are going to make them successful in high school, in college, and beyond. Again, oh, sorry. No, you're all good. That was just a picture of Skip Bertman, again, a very successful coach at LSU. This is probably where we got it from with the eye contact. So go ahead. Thanks.
Cultivate that mindset through visualization, which basically just means imagining the entire experience following the wall. Partially that was to help me remember all of this, but mostly visualization was about feeling the texture of each hold in my hand. Imagine the sensation of my leg reaching up and placing my foot just so. I imagine it all like a choreographed dance, thousands of feet up.
Aiden, why do you play the game of baseball?
I have 3 older brothers, first of all, so I'm basically born into the game. Obviously I love, having 10 other guys out there. Team bonding and having chemistry.
Tim, why do you play the game of baseball?
I always hated sitting around. Always doing something, playing basketball, dancing, playing soccer. And my dad is a big baseball fan, and once with him. Every day I was begging him to go outside and throw, field on the driveway, throw top fly, fell in love with the game.
Did you catch Sam Skill dancing? Okay, just so you know, he's performing at the Bulls halftime show. He'll be out there April 4th, somewhere around there. So, okay, just so you know. Ryan, why do you play the game of baseball?
My dad played college baseball, so he stuck a bat in my hand when I was 4 years old. I've played ever since. I just love being a part of that competitive environment. Playing with the team, having a brotherhood, sticking close to each other, and yeah.
So now what those answers have in common with the video we just watched was that in the video we watched, he's trying to create a feeling of his climb. Just so you know, he climbs mountains without ropes on, nothing that we would ever do, right? But he creates the feeling and the practice of doing it before it happens. These guys are talking about the feeling of playing baseball, for the love of the game, for the brotherhood, okay? For the camaraderie of playing with one another. Never once did we talk about winning a championship game. Did we talk about going 35-1? Did we talk about being MVP of the, I don't know, give me a tournament, PGA perfect game, whatever, right? So we didn't talk about that. So what we're trying to do as coaches is we are trying to create this visceral feeling of closeness and togetherness, and we're just using the baseball field to do it. One of the best coaches, I think, around was Jay Wright, again, a successful coach at Villanova. When his team breaks a huddle, all that they say, is attitude. If something doesn't go your way, attitude. How do we focus on making it better? When they were in the national championship, when Jalen Brunson, Stevenson grad, right? Okay, Jalen Brunson, Stevenson grad, when they won on that last second buzzer beater, they gave up a 10-point lead. They broke the huddle, and it wasn't complaining, it was attitude. So what, now what? This is what we have to do. There's always going to be a team that has one player with palms up that wants to complain. It didn't go my way. Guy made a great play, palms up. I have bad luck. I have this. That's not going to be our program. Our program is going to be the one fist pumping, while the other program is the one wondering, why did that happen to me? So again, I think as coaches, we have to instill that attitude of positivity, of grittiness, of competitiveness. And it starts not only at an early age, but also each time we have an opportunity to talk to our team.
You went early, you just think, hey, this is the way it is. Not really, baseball's a humble game. I mean, not necessarily winning or losing, but personally, you go out there, you have a good week, terrible month. I mean, see, you can never be too high or too low. You know, basketball, you take a perfect shot, you're gonna make it. Roy hit someone square in the jaw, he's gonna drop. Serena, perfect shot, same thing with Warren. Baseball, you can hit it perfect, but somebody might catch it. So it's a real humbling sport.
We have to take the opportunity as coaches, and it's already been mentioned by the panel of coaches that spoke before. We have to encourage failing on a baseball field. And what does that look like? There's always one road that's going to get us closer to winning ball games, especially at a youth level. Do we want to do something that's going to get us the win, or do we want to do something that's going to help our athletes learn the game a little bit better? Baseball IQ, and I'll say this from my opinion, is a little bit lower. Would you agree? A little bit? Okay. Is a little bit lower than where it's been in years past. And I think it's because we're putting so much emphasis on just getting the win that we're losing how to play the game of baseball, right? How many times do we have to tell all of our outfielders to shift after we move one of them? That used to be automatic. How many times do we have to teach our pitchers to cover first base on a routine PFP? That used to be automatic. Backing up plays used to be automatic. But it's also today's kids aren't really watching baseball games from the first inning to the ninth inning. They're watching clips, right? TikTok's huge now. So we're just watching clips. We're watching homers. We're watching strikeouts. So again, each opportunity as a coach is a moment in time where you can help teach our players about the game.
Did he go? I think so.
You said it. Out by 25 feet. I remember day one talking to all three of these guys around the table. What did I say would happen if you get thrown out? I what?
You'll talk. Like, what do you see?
Yeah. I'm going to encourage failing. Get thrown out by 20 feet. All right, well, let's try to be better in the next one, right? That's what games, 1 through 20 are for, or 1 through 15 are for. Fail, learn from it, have a reason why you tried to steal the base. Hey, did I pick up this pitcher? Was a 2-look and go? Hey, I noticed every time he took a big, deep breath in, his shoulder sank a little bit, and I tried to jump it. I'm okay if you get thrown out if you have that answer. Okay? If we don't have that answer, maybe a different story, but that's not important for today. So we'll. Okay. And then we mentioned too about practice environment. We talked about today's game and where we're currently at. I know that there's a lot of kids that like to travel in, December, January, and February to tournaments in other states. Great if you'd like to do that. However, I think when we do that, we're starting to encourage the burnout effect a little bit because we're putting too much emphasis on winning those games and we're losing what's truly important. Tiger Woods said it best. When I'm working on something, obviously it's not going to feel exactly what it looks like, but it gets to the point when feel and real start intersecting, that is when the magic happens. I think we have to do a better job as coaches setting little benchmarks along the way, having our kids reach those benchmarks, which then gives them that sense of accomplishment, that excitement, that joy to come back for more. If people are numbed out by a lack of genuine connection and excitement of the task, disorder and mayhem start to seem enticing. I teach freshmen, like I already mentioned, in PE class. The second we don't have organization or clear instruction, it's chaos, okay? So again, it's really important to kind of set the standard, set your objectives, reach your goals, dominate your daily plan. The amount of times we said stack positive, what? Stack positive what? Stack positive days. That's what we're trying to do. We're not focusing on winning a championship. Well, we are, but we're not focusing on winning the championship today, right? But we're trying to dominate our daily plan and then put those days together. And the last one, KISS, keep it simple, right? We mentioned at the ABCA, Don Mattingly broke down hitting in very simple terms. For example, knob to the baseball. The amount of times he said knob to the baseball in his conversation was remarkable. So when we're trying to explain something, if it's 3 sentences long, we have to try to reduce that. Once you get it to 2 sentences, try to reduce that. Try to make it as simple as you can when explaining something, whether it's to a youth kid or to a high school student. 5 words less, maybe, right around there, hopefully be your sweet spot. Okay, again, we talk about team all the time. This is how we want our dugout to look. This is just a picture of what we had going at Evanston. I think we walked off Glenbrook North that day. But again, we had mentioned we want our guys on the rails. We want to have that contagious energy every single pitch until inning 7 is done. I don't even know what it is.
That's a Texas.
Oh,
Here, I got you. Let me see if I can show it.
They're 3 in a row too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Ask a quick question.
Sure.
Brought up the point of baseball like these, it's not speed stated, but we're finding challenges in our non-baseball programs, and then those players obviously graduate without. What suggestions would you like to have regarding how we feel more baseball like we starting with the lower level?
Yeah, I think just having opportunities, and I know these high school coaches would always do it, right? Is come to your youth programs and talk about the game, and even if it's at a point of having our high school guys practice with youth players is something that I'm sure everyone would seek out with that opportunity. Like we would all love to do it. Definitely encouraging youth kids to watch more baseball games. I know that you'll see Savannah Bananas on TV and maybe that's working for them, but maybe don't start with a full 9-inning game, but where you're actually talking through the game and you're trying to help them study a little bit. And I know it's going to be a complicated task at first. So I would, again, start small with the clinics, and I know these guys would do it to try to help spread and build that IQ a little bit more. The 3 clips that you couldn't see, perfectly fine. It's the University of Texas. Every single time they had a count with 2 strikes, they hit their chest because they're going to give up their at-bat for the team. That's something that I am going to instill with our program. Once you have 2 strikes, it's time to have a team at bat. That's going to help them build that IQ a little bit more to understand what your task is at hand. Okay? The last piece of this is self-audit your program and self-audit yourself. I always believe the saying and have a 30,000-foot view of what your dugout looks like, of what you look like. When your players see you in a dugout with your hands over your face, or if you're kicking buckets or anything like that, it's not going to go well for them. They're going to spiral a little bit out of control. One thing I love to do is go to an opposing coach. Hey, what did our dugout look like today? Right? Tell them, have them out to watch a practice. Hey, how did our practice look? Was our energy bad? Is there anything that we can do to improve our practice or our game methods, anything like that? So I put Craig Counsell. He's always calm, cool, and collected in the dugout. So again, that's how I feel it should be. I've been told before when coaching games that, Coach, you don't look like you're having much fun. But at the same time, I feel like it's very important to always keep your cool when coaching. Okay. The last 2, again, know your why. I love these guys up here. I've known them for 2 months. Okay. I would do anything for them. They know that. There's been no better pleasure than getting to work with each one of them. And again, understand why you're coaching. It's to help them be on a path forward towards success and help them becoming the very best possible versions of themselves each and every day. And again, just more pictures of guys we coached in the past, and then also the best guys up top. Okay.
I think buying your kids Culvers is a violation.
That was donated.
Okay. Those big Stevenson donors.
Yeah, we love it. So, all right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you don't need that to Jason.
All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Coach Jason Weeder, homegrown Wheeling boy. I actually played my first varsity game here back in 1999. Nelson was probably standing over there at third base. They brought in Perenni. He hit me, and I was thanking God because he was going to Illinois throwing 90 miles an hour. So that took me into my coaching career. I started at Northridge Prep, which was a small all-boys school in Niles, and coached their JV team there for 3 years. And I've been the Wheeling baseball varsity coach ever since 2013. So this is my 14th year being the head coach. So first of all, I want to thank these guys for first inviting me out, and also to thank you guys for being here, giving back, all right, to your community. Your volunteer hours mean so much. I'm very jealous that the BGRA has all this power and has all this representation from their parent group, because we would love to have something built like this in our community. But I'm glad to be here today to talk baseball and to hopefully help you with developing a practice plan that's efficient. I have some drills here that hopefully will show you how to keep your players engaged and moving throughout the practice. So 3 questions to consider when practice planning, all right, that I think are first, just knowing your identity. All right, who are you as a coach? Who are you as the BGRA? Who are you as your own individual team? What does your space look like? What does your time of practice look like? What does your personnel look like for the day? All right, and then ultimately, what do you want to get out of your practice? So when we click over, all right, this is kind of our program philosophy on identity first. All right, so our biggest thing is this phrase, always compete. All right, so if you know me, I coach football, I coach basketball, and I coach baseball at Wheeling. So I'm involved with my guys year round. At Wheeling, excuse me, we have multiple 2-sport, 3-sport athletes. That's just our culture. So I'm in the grind with them. So our practices will always prioritize competing, and we'll always prioritize some kind of competitions. We actually on Fridays have a specific day called Competition Friday, where if you go back one, we actually have this disco shirt that goes to our player of the game. We start this once we go indoors, and this is kind of our competitor of the week. Go back. So again, we feel like that if we can just create individuals that can compete in practice, all right, we're putting pressure on them, all right, they have to perform in drills, we're trying to make it fun, they're trying to win prizes, that ultimately that's going to show up. So when we beat Conant and we beat Barrington on a Friday in our conference, we feel good about that because our guys have trained those are hard games. And that's we're down on our pitching. We're on number 3, number 4. Like, that's where we really got to dig in, and we got to compete for each other, and we got to play ball. Secondly, we're coming at Wheeling with a lot more young, inexperienced players, people that have never played the sport before, that don't own equipment, some who have very limited years of experience. So we're always going to prioritize our fundamentals and repetitions. Like, we want to keep our guys engaged and moving and getting as many reps as they can. And then lastly, we want to play the game hard. So if you're going to come and watch a game of ours, win or lose, we want to be trying to do the right things. All right. So in a lot of our drills, we're going to constantly be putting game-like situation. We're always going to put a base runner on base. We're going to try to teach base running through our defensive drills, everything we do. So if you have parents that want to get involved, I highly recommend you putting them in places where they can be a voice or track things for you. Because I believe in the power of numbers. So we have 3 up at varsity, myself and 2 assistants. So if we have a person on the fungo, we'll have someone on the base paths coaching even in those defensive drills, just trying to put an emphasis, trying to gain an edge somewhere where we think we can win a ball game. When we go to the time, space, personnel, where know your facility. All right, I think I know our field house better than hopefully every other coach, our diamond. So we're going to design our practices according to that space. How are our arms? Coach was talking about just don't play, fungo golf while your guys are warming up. Try to be on the line with them, engage. We're asking them, how is their lunch? What do they feel like today? How are their arms? This will give us an idea of, are we a bucket day? Are we getting a lot of throws in the infield? We want to be conscious of how much stress we're putting on our players. So we're constantly trying to get engaged and understand where they are. All right. And then finally, what do I want to get out of practice? Billy does an unbelievable job at controlling the running game. I firmly believe that we lose to this guy every time because we'll get the tying run or the winning run on second, and 2 pitches that kid's picked off. And we know it. We practice it, and it happens, but we're getting better at it. So that week, I know I have to be able to situational hit. His pitching staff's going to limit our runners. So anyone that we get on base, we're going to have to manufacture and produce. So we're constantly working that. We're working extra base running time. They're going to back pick us, guys. They're going to pick us off at second. They're going to disrupt our timing. It's going to happen. It's going to be slower. Don't lose focus. Like, we live in this pitch by pitch mentality. So that's an emphasis. And then last year he had 2 big velo lefties. I mean, we're putting the heat up on the machine. We're trying to get it from different angles. So we have dual machines going, and we're trying to get a lefty. And, you know, I don't think we had beaten any BG team since he's taken over, and we got lucky against Kelly last year, who was, you know, MSL player of the year before, and this guy's throwing heat, and, you know, we were able to grind it out and kind of get them in the last inning there. So it depends what you want to do. Do you want to focus on what your weakness is and have that be the focus of the practice? Or sometimes you got to dip in if you've got a quality opponent and you really want to scout them and know what they're about, then you got to kind of go opponent based a little bit. So we're going to focus on that a little bit too. So that might be too high schoolish for your level, but I'm sure there's still, you know, you've got this Cardinal team that you're coming up against, you know what they have, you know, you might emphasize some other things in that week of practice. Always have a purpose. Tell your players why. All right. We have these things called skull sessions. All right. So if we're practicing indoors and our practice starts at 7:30, we'll meet at 7. And I'll have the practice laid out. I'll tell them why we're doing each drill. If I stole the drill from Louisville or Arizona, we'll tag it. We'll put it up on YouTube. Now the kids understand at 7:45 when we get to this drill, they've seen it at a collegiate level. All right. So now they have an understanding of the drill and they go into practice knowing the why. It could also be a quote of the day. It could be the excellent presentation on culture. All right. All those great things. You can put that in skull meetings if you decide that you want to talk to your team like that. Empower coaches, strength in numbers. Again, use your parents. All right. There's parents that want to get involved. If they're good with game changer or tracking at bats, I have a wheeling hitting chart that we carry around that you guys can take, and it kind of like, you know, puts you into situations in the batter's box. So you're not just getting mindless swings. You know, you're actually focused. I'm up the middle. I'm negative. I'm in a hit and run. Infield's drawn in. And you check plus, minus, you know, if you get that, and then you can kind of grade and reflect yourself. So that's in blue. If you're interested in that, we can pass that around here in a little bit. Don't be surprised, all right? I think parents check in for games on Game Changer. If there's a way for you to do a remind or on Game Changer, have people RSVP for practice. That way, you know, you have a second baseman, you know, you have 2 pitchers today, and you're not showing up surprised that what you planned is going to be thrown off based on your personnel not being there. Love living in this zone, this player development zone. Show your players you care about them and their futures. All right. I truly believe in building athletes in multiple sports, but also on the baseball field. You know, just don't pigeonhole someone as your catcher. Let them play the outfield. Let your infielders play the outfield. I let my shortstop play first base sometimes because they love it. So if we have, you know, any kind of scrimmage and stuff, make them a better athlete, move them around the field, because they might be your best shortstop today. All right. But they could be, you know, Billy's center fielder in the future. All right. So don't be afraid to move people around. Equipment pieces. I've got a program here. All right. A throwing program with the J bands that you can take. If I'm investing in a young kid, these are the first couple things that I'm getting them. I'm getting them J bands, and they have youth ones. And this is building up their arms and their shoulders. I'm getting them one of these pads. All right. Instead of just their mitt, Valley sells these short mitts, and these things have developed since I played. So I played for the Lake County Chiefs for Artman Savage way back in the day, and these were what we put on our hands to do infielding. Now they have the leather versions of these pancake gloves. All right. Our infielders use these a ton. I'll give these to my shortstop, these small gloves. These would be pieces I'm developing, or I'm investing in my son or my player in. Extra baseballs, huge bucket guy. A lot of baseballs all over the field. Finally, make it fun. We love to compete. We love winners and losers. You know, our Halloween game, we're doing gift cards, all those good things. Sorry, try to go a little faster. Just kind of a timeline. This is our high school timeline. All right, so the first one is a pre-practice routine. I think this one's really important because this is teaching a life skill about showing up early, 10, 15 minutes early with an intent to get better. All right, so this is a perfect time to do the J-bands, all right, to do a towel drill, all right, to show up and get against the fence and do some dry swings, you know, keeping that knob in, all right, things like that. So if we can get our guys to the field doing these bands before, I feel like we're in a good space to start practice. Okay, we talked about the dynamic, the long toss throwing routine. You'll see in a minute, ours is pretty similar to Buffalo Grove's. Big segment, all right, indies, all right, team defense, team offense. I kind of, next slide, try to put you into where you would be. Go ahead. So I'm guessing you don't have 2.5 hours with your players. I'm guessing it's more like an hour, hour and a half, 1 to 2 times per week. All right, so I get that. You're going to have to scale this down. So again, I still believe you should be at practice early. You should be doing something. All right, you have that dynamic. The throwing, the baseball games are won and lost, catching and throwing the baseball. That should be a huge priority. All right, staying in that, developing pitchers. All right, I'm sure every coach around here, you know, we want pitchers and catchers. We want people to have those skills. Don't just be an infielder or an outfielder. Spend time teaching that. Team defense, you know, what are you doing this week? First and thirds, are you controlling your run game? Team offense, hitting stations, we'll get to that. Competition to end. So this kind of just like a timeline. Okay, that pre-practice routine, showing up with purposeful intent. You see the young man there doing his J-bands. All right, this is going to strengthen the shoulders and the arms. And just a quote here from Mike Tomlin, the best ability is availability. We want to make sure our kids are getting healthier, stronger, and they're doing that prehab so that they're not throwing their arms out. Okay, this is an example of our dynamic warm-up. I printed out our first practice of the year from 2025. So if you want to see the detailed practice there, I have that in white for everyone. There's our stationary on the move dynamic. All right, again, our wheeling throwing program. Why do we start on one knee? You know, that 4-seam run down release. 2 feet, we're working that flat back, that power position. Athletic catch, I believe in attacking the baseball, getting foot to foot, walking back to my position. And then our long toss. This is where you build your arm strength, your velocity, making sure that those kids are getting uncomfortable, all right, out in space. When we start to come back in, we'll do a little bit more pull downs for velocity. So that's going to be like 1 to 2 throws instead of like 3 to 5. And then we start getting into competition mode again. All right, quick hands, quick feet. All right, I like to have my infielders throw with infielders, my outfielders throw with outfielders. I think that just makes sense. When you get closer in, then we can work on, you know, different arm angle stuff. Our guys can work in getting behind the ball and throwing into each other. I think just, you know, pairing your players based on position and arm strength makes a lot of sense. And then we'll finish with quick flips, all right? So, you know, just an infielder by nature, I always throw in more infielding stuff than probably we need to, but that's just how we end our throwing segment. In practice planning, you know, these are just names of some of the drills that we do. They're probably going to mean nothing to you right now, but just create a checklist for yourself. You know, you could even go online and create a checklist of what I need to cover in a baseball season. And you just pull in 1 or 2. Don't just do it on random. Think about your team. Like, where are we? What do we need? What are we good at? What are we weak at? What is our opponent good at? What are they weak at? All right, and just kind of add these in. But, you know, this is where we live in our indies, which is our player development segment. And then, you know, when I always come to these conferences, I always try to want to walk away with, you know, a drill or 2 that I can apply to my program. So if you go back that YouTube, so this would be a skull session for us. This is Dansby Swanson's Gold Glove infield routine. I made the PowerPoint. Go to 45 seconds if you can. 45.
So we always start early in the day. First thing we do, we get on our knees just to do isolate our hands. We always start in the middle, do 7 in the middle, do 7 forehands, 7 backhands, and then we mix it up a little bit before we move on to the pad. But the sole purpose of this, like I said, is to get timing and rhythm with our hands, how to catch a short hop. The easiest way I like to explain it to kids, and we'll demonstrate it here in a minute, is there's a rhythm to moving through a short hop. 2 things I see are kids move too early, and the other thing is they move with a loose wrist. We actually were talking about that today. The loose wrist can just cause a lot of inconsistencies. So I like to talk about if you have a brace on your arm, to move with a stiff wrist so that the pocket is able to stay on plane with the ground ball as opposed to moving off of it. Just like hitting, if your barrel's in and out of the zone, then you're gonna have a hard time hitting a low line drive. So, I like to keep my pocket moving on the same plane at all times. Backhands, I don't like to bend my wrist over and do this. I keep it moving on the same line. Do the same thing with forehands, and obviously the same thing with two. So, getting a little bit of a demonstration.
All right, so I wanted to show this because, again, this could be another pre-practice if you have, a son or a daughter that's really into it and you want to get to the ballpark early. These isolated hand drills, I think, are awesome. All right, it allows your eyes to see your hands and things like that from a knee standpoint. And he's exactly right. When we do this a lot, our guys will sweep and they'll roll their wrists over instead of, kind of getting through the baseball with the stiff wrist that he says, kind of like imagining you have a brace on your arm there. So it's a really good 18-minute piece. All right. Again, if you want this presentation, all right, or you can just look up Dansby Swanson's Gold Glove Series. It's really detailed. I think he does an awesome job. He's one of my favorite guys to watch on the Cubs. So yeah, that's a good series to watch for infield drills. This is our guys. This is one of, indoors. We're going to do this drill every day. They're just working on different feeds. All right, so the first one was underhand feeds from second, option pitches, shortstop. Might be a little quick. Knee pivot if you're getting that third out in the inning. Going the other way for a second baseman. Again, they're using the pancakes here, trying to emphasize going with two. My corners are on the left, my mids are on the right. I wish they were a little bit more compact, but these are all the different ways to turn double plays. Relay footwork, foot to foot. And then just kind of your old school tag and replace. So just another infield drill, catching drill that we'll use pretty much to start every infield practice. That hopefully, you can take away to your younger kids because, again, it's a lot of reps in a short period of time. It's short distance. I think that we were at 15 feet for flips and 45 feet for, those throwing drills. So, yeah. Pitching plan. All right, you'll see here, this was 2 years ago. This is our pitching plan for our guys. We divide them into different groups. All right, so the first time we talk with them, Nuke's our number one. He might throw 40 flat, and then he's going to move down, all right, the row each day. So defensive pen, they might work on, their footwork. All right, for pickoffs, they might condition on the bikes, do medicine ball drills. Just stole Navy's medicine ball circuit from the last Illinois clinic we just went to. Our long toss, we're going to talk mechanics there. We're going to work into a flat pen at 85%. This is a time where we're kind of working more change-ups, curveball, fastball grips. And then day 5 is where we're either going to rest or resume the bullpen. So here you'll see he went flat. All right, now we're feeling a little bit more comfortable that he's, had open gyms. He's had a week of throwing. Now we're going to get him off the mound a little bit. So Coach Ogilvy does a great job with the pitchers and mapping that out. Team defense, again, this is that checklist that, we're kind of talking about. Build a checklist, pick 2 or 3, keep it short and engaged. We'll show one drill. We can skip that. One drill. So, again, it's a stealing business. We go to Disney almost every year now, but back in 2016 and 2017 was probably where I grew as a coach the most. We took a trip out to Louisville in 2016. And Dan McDonnell had a practice plan for us, allowed us on the field, let us watch a practice, and we were just kind of taken away by their PFP. Like for me, like I said, I went to Wheeling, I coach at Wheeling. I really didn't know. What you don't know, you don't know. And when I got there, it was like, wow, these guys move efficiently. These guys are getting a ton of reps. And this was like their PFP drill. And you've got a coach with a fungo. He's going out to, first base, ground balls, this line of pitchers. All right. You're getting around a cone, getting the ball early, finding your feet inside next play. Then the catcher's rolling out a ground ball to this pitcher. He's throwing a 1-6 double play. The shortstop at second, they're catching. All right. They're faking. And then they're throwing to an outfielder or a bucket. All right. At third base. All right. Then we're rolling, sack bunts down here. 1-3, 5-3. They're making those throws over. So we've got all our pitchers, say 9 to 12 of them over here. 3 hop on at a time. 3 hop off, 3 hop on at a time, and we're rotating around. I think you had the frog drill. All right, very similar style for the Louisville. All right, now we're going round 2, same kind of concepts. Good. Team offense. All right, again, knowing your facilities. So indoors, all right, we have 1 big cage. I'm going half flips. The other half, I'm getting a machine. I've got 4 guys engaged. I got 4 T-station with socket nets. We got high, mid, low. All right, drill of the day. All right, so we're previewing that. We've got 8 guys, a guy putting it on for their partner, a guy hitting. We've got a machine for bunting in the corner. Our coach Menick used to have awesome stadium design that he would do with all the gymnastic pads. So we have a bunting dome inside, and then we're using red power balls for a power ball circuit. Outdoors, a little bit more limited. All right, but we have an iron mic, flips, working the back of the tee net. On the field, we got the bubble, and then behind the bubble, we put our bunting machine, and we've got 2 guys bunting behind the bubble while someone's in the bubble hitting off the machine. Really believe that, our guys will see different reads off the bat than they will off my fungo. So putting a defense out during batting practice and actually having them field it and play it out is very important to us. I think that's the most we can make it live for our guys, because unfortunately, we are just not like a prospect that can roll out there and scrimmage on a Tuesday and then play again on a Wednesday. It's just not realistic. We don't have the pitchers, so we got to do the machines, or I got to throw, and we got to get those reads off of the bat there. One of our big offensive drills here was our TCU situational hitting. All right, so I'll put guys in groups over there, and we'll give them 4 pitches, and they have to understand what they need to do. So pitch 1 will be a sack bunt, 2 hit behind the runner. All right, and all this, our base runners are reading this. They're reading the downward of the sack bunt. All right, they're reading if that ball was hit behind them. They're tagging to right, and then we're driving them in. The last one, they're live. They're running out of the box and going. All right, so you can mix up whatever situation you want in those 4 pitches. All right, but we're doing this about 3-4 rounds, so our guys are getting 12 to 16 swings. All right, but they're understanding they have to be mindful of those swings. All right, in this drill, they're not just going up there and trying to hit home runs. So we like this drill a lot to keep guys engaged here. So again, that looks like the hitter. There are other teammates on the bases. All right, we got bunting going behind the bubble. All right, player E's on the tee or the iron mic. The rest of the team's out in the field getting those live reps. And just to kind of conclude, again, know your identity. Who are you? What you're about. Plan and prepare for your upcoming opponents. Prioritize player development. Keep practice moving and kids engaged. And make this thing fun and competitive. I think, Nelson touched on it at the beginning of it. If you can get these kids enjoying baseball, loving baseball, wanting to come back and, are excited about that next practice, man, that's a win. That's a win right there. You are doing your job. We appreciate you. We thank you for what you're doing and giving back to the game and growing the game. And this is the way we're going to move forward and have a strong community for baseball, I firmly believe. So I believe that's it. Here's my contact information, my cell. All right. I would love to have you at practice. I don't know how long I talked, 15, 20 minutes maybe. Try to do this a little bit quicker. But if you want to see drills, come by. All right. Just email me, say, hey, I'd love to come. We like doing the night shift. It just gives us the whole facility. Everyone's out of the school by then. We can go as long as we want, kind of. But yeah, we'd love to have you. So come on by, and thank you for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful season and a safe night getting home. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
All right, we're halfway done. No, just a couple quick things. One, let's give them all a big hand here. Two things I'll leave you with, and one, I recorded this. I'm going to share it with everybody after. I put it up on Zoom. Hopefully it didn't hit the limit, but I'll clip it up and send it to everybody. But two things. One, I was in a little group chat because college baseball or Division I college baseball starts this weekend. JUCO started a couple weeks ago, and I was in a group chat with a couple friends. One is now the first base coach for the Brewers. He used to be the head coach at Northwestern, and he's fortunate enough to have his first big league job, which is pretty cool. The other one was the head coach at Arizona State. Now he's head coach at Michigan, was at Indiana and Miami, Ohio before then. But we're just kind of like shooting the crap, whatever. And I actually sent Baum a screenshot of it because I thought it was funny. And the one guy's like, hey, he's like, I hope you guys have a great season and, hope everything goes well. And I'm like, well, if I can get our 10-year-olds to lock in like 20-year-olds and Tracy can get his 20-year-olds play as loose as our 10-year-olds, we're all going to be just fine. And Tracy's response was, ain't that the effing truth? And the point being is, like, oftentimes I think we kind of dummy down things. And I know we have T-ball coaches and everything else, but you'd be amazed at what the kids will retained if you come prepared with a practice plan, if you introduce it to them, if your parents that are helping out are also prepared. It's remarkable what they're capable of. Okay, so the only thing that's limiting them is your belief in what they can and cannot do. Okay, so challenge them. Okay, and then the second part is we go to the opposite end pretty quickly. We have some of the 12, 13, 14-year-old coaches back there. All of a sudden we think they're at a level where they have to do something exceptional all the time. Okay, and there's this happy medium. We got to thread the needle between trying too hard and pushing too hard and just letting them play loose and have fun. Okay, and you guys see it every single day with the kids that you work with. The second piece is this. I know they got a chuckle out of it, but I made those little cartoons, right, of them for the promotion of it. Okay, and I got a baseball card version for each of you up here. But the reason I had you guys sign the back of this, quick story, when I took over as the coach at Notre Dame, like I said, a couple years after Chris was there, I'm from here, right? This is my school. I wasn't in the East Suburban Catholic. I go to Notre Dame, and it's a different culture, no doubt. All boys, all Catholic, whatever. There's a different level of expectation and everything else. And my first couple weeks on the job with Coach Baum on my staff there, our athletic director comes out and hands me an envelope. And I'm like, wow, I get some cash. I'm only making like $2,800. Hopefully, and I open it up, and it's an anonymous letter from a parent